What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I've got a new series for us, and this is a local tournament. The venue is called Zoosters. There's some really tough competition at this place, and they do this tournament once a week. It is a short race, as you can see in the top right-hand side of your screen. It's a race to 3. It's a double elimination tournament. The front side is 8 ball, and the back side is 9 ball. And you open up with a lag. Pretty standard here. You get the break. It is rack your own in 8 ball, and then it's rack for each other in 9 ball. And I have to say, this first opponent is a very strong player. I consider him one of the top 5 in this particular tournament. And I've played against him a number of times, and certainly when I was first getting back into the game, I played him a couple times, and I did not have my sea legs under me, and he just stomped me. I've got a ton of respect for him as a player, as a person. He doesn't withhold information. He's really good about sharing, helping people get better. Just a great guy overall. And this is not the kind of guy that you want to give ball in hand to after the break. Let me get my whiteboard here. It is working this time, by the way. So I give him up ball in hand, and these are BCA rules, 7-foot diamond tables, and they play very clean. The owner of this pool hall takes really good care of his equipment, and I've given him ball in hand, and he just has to sort of work his way through this rack. He's elected to take stripes, and he solves one of his problems immediately. He's sort of shaping up potential key ball over to the 8 and picking his lines. He knows that he's got to get good on the 14, and I think probably at this point in the rack, his thought is to use the 14 to get on the 8. That's his key ball. But yeah, he's a little frustrated because he doesn't love how you get on the 14. The other thing I really like about this guy is he's got a tremendous second ball break, one of the best I've ever seen. Really interesting technique too, which you'll get to see. It's alternate break, by the way, so he'll get the next break whether or not he wins this first game. He's working his way through this here. He could play a kind of a little bit of a pinch draw. And he wanted to either shape the 14 or come back down a little farther to get below the 12 there. But he's got a good line on the 14 that solves one of his problems. But he will have to figure out another key ball to get on the 8. Plays down off the side pocket. He leaves himself a pretty thin cut on the 13, but thankfully the natural angle of that line off the 13 brings you back up table. Some players might try to hold this ball, and that is challenging on a faster table. So really, your best play is to let it come straight back down table, maybe a touch of outside to straighten it out. That's exactly what he did. Maybe more than a touch of outside. Drifts a little far in and gets somewhat straight on the 11 ball. He's got a bit of a back cut. And this is the key point in the rack. You have to get good on this 12 ball such that it allows you to get back over for the 8. You can play it inside, or you can kind of drift down below the 12. A little indecisive, so he stands back up. It's a great habit. Got to commit to your plan. So he decides to roll low outside there, low left-hand spin. He decides to roll under the 12, and he knew getting this particular angle was going to be problematic potentially. So you could try to play a stop shot on the 12, but trying to hold the cue ball here, you're very likely to get in the way of the 1 ball and hook yourself. If you try to come through this ball, you're going to drift too close to the 5 and the 4. He's pointing at the 1 ball because he knows this stun draw that he's going to play brings you right into the 1. And he played it really well, but just slightly underhit that. If he had pushed the 1 ball a little bit further, it would have been completely out of his way on the 8 ball. Now, at this point, it's do or die. You have to commit to a little bit of a swerve, kind of mini masse. Camera blocks the shot, unfortunately, but he plays a good hit on the 8 ball. He managed to swerve around the 1 ball and successfully pocket the 8, so that's 1 on the string. And again, it's a short race, so he's got 1 up. Yeah, he's like, over to the guy running the tournament. Here comes his second ball break. Really fascinating because he's aiming so high on the cue ball. And then he comes through the ball, maybe center to low. And look at this. He also scratches on the break, which short form here, quick race, can be really tough. And a lot of players in this pool hall will just run out the table if you give them ball in hand. And unlike APA, with BCA rules, a scratch on the break is not just in the kitchen, it's anywhere on the table. So I've got to take a minute to really think about this pattern. There are certainly some clusters to clear up. And I have to commit to a suit. The other thing after the break in BCA is that it's always an open table, regardless of what you make. Which I really like that rule. It's good to have some flexibility there. Gives players more options for strategy. So you've got to think about how tightly clustered the solids are down table. Does that make it easier to pocket them with minimizing cue ball travel? Sure. But then where's your one ball going? How do you shape that one ball? It's going to be tricky to get on that. And looking over the stripes, they have pockets. Each of them has a pocket. You have to make sure that you get good on the 14. That one could be kind of tricky. And using ball in hand to clear up the 9 ball to open up. We want to drift down, really eliminating these balls here, working our way down table. I think the plan would be to play the 11 in the side. I don't remember if the 11 actually goes in the side by the 8 ball over here, or if I would have had to move it. Maybe that was the idea with stopping the cue ball off the 9. And this was the first match of the night, and it's a tough draw coming in against this guy. And yeah, I to this day still feel intimidated by this player when I have to play him. So some like aspect of the mental game that I'm working on, particularly with this person. Overall, I think I've gotten better with that. Yeah, just in general, not considering the player as much unless it comes to strategy and I need to think about, okay, my opponent has this skill set. Do I need to adjust my game? It really comes into play with defense and the push out shot. But with this guy, he's just a monster player. What can I say? And you might have that sort of lingering thought. Not sure if you guys have ever, I'm sure you've experienced this before. You know you're coming up against a really strong player that if you miss, they're going to punish you for it. They're going to run out. They're going to put a couple games together. That thought can really worm its way into your game. The if I miss thing. If I mess up, don't want to let my opponent get back to the table. You start to think too much about what they are going to do. You're going to completely give up the energy that needs to be spent on what you are going to do, what you need to be doing. Didn't put myself in a great position here. Seems like the 11 does not go in the side, or it's so thin that I don't want to risk it. And now I didn't have to bridge over the 3, which is nice. I have a long shot on the 12 ball here. And I put a good stroke on that one and brings me back down table. But I wasn't able to get around the 1 ball. I think the hope was to get down closer to the 11 or the 14 to either play some kind of defense or possibly play the combination 11-14. The 6 ball makes that pocket a little bigger for the 14. And the 14 could also hold up in the pocket to block that shot, which could help out too. So I'm in a tough position. And it's one of those things where in 8 ball, if you can't run out, you really shouldn't be trying to run out. But I committed to this one, to my credit, committed to the run out. So I decide to attempt a cross-side bank on the 11 ball. The plan was that it could theoretically get me around the 14. And I overplayed it pretty considerably, maybe of a quarter to a half a diamond. Missed that bank shot. I did get down below the 14, which could have worked out. If the 11 had gone, I probably would have been in a pretty similar position with the cue ball, and I might have had an open shot on the 14 up here in the bottom left-hand corner. So, tough one. Moved all my stuff out of his way. He's really just got to get good on the 1 ball right next to the 8. The 1 does not go past the 8 down into this corner, so he'll have to shape it down here to bring it up top. But pretty simple stuff here. You can play the 4 clean, or you can play it off the 8. He decides to play it clean. Off the 6, I mean. And yep, it's got a shot on the 5 that's going to drift him up. You can play into the 2 as a stopper and shape the 6. Didn't need to, played it with a bit of outside. That one bobbled a bit. Diamonds don't always take that, but he hit it at a really good speed, which helps the ball go down. If you punch at that ball, oftentimes it'll bobble. Got a little funny on the 2, so doesn't seem to like that right now. We can play the 6 and try to shape the 1 now, which he does, takes care of his problem. Make sure to get above the 14. Unfortunately, he's queuing over the 14, so he might change his plan. Looks like he's just going to commit to the 1 ball. Yeah, great form. Yep, simple, sort of a snip draw. You don't really want to stop it right there, but just pull it back slightly for the 3. And he left himself the option. He could either play the 3 around to that side of the 2, which is what he was looking at there, or he could play the 3. I'm sorry, yeah, he could play the 3 to get on that side of the 2, or he could play the 2 and drift back up between the 3 and the 8, and then it's a simple stop shot on both. He opts for the 2. It's definitely safer play. Drifts up perfectly straight on the 3, and at that point I just say, you're good. Don't need to shoot those. And just like that, he's up 2. And I'm breaking. So I got to get back to the table. I got to make something happen here. Change up my break a little bit. Cue ball was good. I did still get pushed back a bit too much. Wasn't thrilled with how I was breaking in this match, but I did make a ball. And again, in BCA you have choice, but so the bottom left-hand corner is holding the 12 ball. I'm on top of the 7, and that's the 12 hanging in the pocket there. So just dropped 1 solid. And it might be tempting to go with the suit you made on the break, but there's not a great shot on solids here to open up. The 3 might go in the top right-hand corner, but that's really risky. The 7 won't go through the 12, especially not at this angle to stretch. The 1 doesn't go into the side or down in the top right or top left corner by the 5. The 5's blocking that. So at this point, I have to look at a back cut on the 7 into the 12 because it is an open table. You can play that combination. And I grab my extension here to see if I can reach. Paying attention not to move the 5. And even with the extension, it's going to be such awkward stretch that I decide to just shoot non-dominant. And the combination's not perfectly wired up here. I still have to cut the 7 ball a little bit. And I know that drifting back around, I'll be able to come down table. 13 did not end up in a great spot, but at least it's enough below the side pocket that it's not in that dreaded side pocket point spot on the table. Ended up with a clear line on the 11, which is nice. I can get down below the 13, or I can come back above the 13. The 15, 9, and 14 are very close to that side pocket. You can clear up all 3 of those pretty easily. We just want to come clean through this 11 ball, drift down below the 13, leave a little bit of an angle to where we can follow straight through the ball, or we can just come into the rail and bounce back out. The cue ball naturally wants to come into the rail and bounce back out. You can hold it for the 15 here in the side. And depending on your angle, you can just float over to the other side for, looks like my camera got bumped, the 9 ball in the opposite side pocket. So just play that. Cheated it a little bit. Didn't need to cheat that. It might have been unintentional. I think still just nerves trying to settle in here first match. Got a bit of a cut on the 15, but just control your speed. Cheat that over to the right-hand side to take more of the cue ball's energy, and now you've got a line on the 9 ball. I've got to think about the 10. I do want to get a good line on the 10 ball, and you could come above it for the side pocket. I don't love that. I think you naturally want to bring the 10 ball into this bottom right-hand corner. We got to shape that. Starting to look like the 14 or the 10 would be our key ball. So we're going to pull the cue ball back for the 14, it looks like. Yeah, pretty straight on the 9. And a little bit of a back cut on the 14. Cue ball's naturally going to want to go down table, and with draw, you can bring it back up. So I have to just pick a good zone for the cut on the 10 ball. This is one of those where you don't want to try to get cute. You don't want to try to get absolutely perfect on the 10 and end up hooking yourself or overplaying it or underplaying it. You just want to pick a nice open zone that gives you the highest chance of success. In this case, the 14 was too risky, so you end up going with the 10 with the knowledge that high outside is going to drift down the 14 down below the side pocket. I've been practicing that one a lot lately, so I'm really happy with that result. The speed control was great. Got back down a perfect line on the 14 that's going to drift up over to the 8. And at this point, you got to just give yourself props, celebrate this, stay consistent, and shoot with confidence. Yeah, as always, do the YouTube stuff to help me out. If you're here by now, you should probably subscribe if you haven't already. There's the second ball break again. Threatens the 8 ball in the top corner here. Doesn't get rewarded really this time. But I got a game on the string. He might have let up on his break a little bit that time, maybe for fear of scratching. Because he watched me break and run that last one. He doesn't want to let me get another game. But not making a ball sometimes is just as bad. So lots of options here. Back cut on the 1 is most natural to open up. You're going to bring yourself into center table. 4 is a blocker on the 3. The 10 goes in the side. I guess I just didn't like stripes. Okay. Played a pretty good shot on the 1 ball. Left myself some choices. I can back cut the 4. I can play the 7. What I'm looking at there is the 6. The 6 got junked up a little bit by where I pushed the 9. Limits my options for getting shape on the 6. But we're still okay here. The 5 makes a good key ball for the 8. The 3 goes in the side. The 2 could go down in the top right corner. So you want to play the 7 ball and either get on the 4 to bring you to the 6 or play down below the 3 and the 2. I think that was the intention, was to get between the 4 and the 3 and give myself the option. And we could definitely get out here if we play this safe. We really just have to solve that 6 ball problem. I'm looking at where I would want to end up on the 5. Getting ahead of myself a little bit, I think. Yeah, I think that question there was, if I look at the 6, if I use the 6 to get to the 5, what's that going to give me? So reasonably straight in on the 3. Decide to take the 5 now, which is fine. And I think that was the consideration, is the 5 from here naturally brings me over to a reasonable shot on the 6. So just a confident stroke here to drift over. Played that with pretty good speed. That's risky though, guys. I mean, you overplay that a little bit and you're kind of stuck. Luckily the 4 was a bit of a backup. So you play the 6 ball low outside, or you can naturally kind of punch out for the 4. Good touch. Drifted out nicely for the 4. And go pick your spot. Yep, that's good. Pick your spot on the 2. So the question is, do you want to play into the 4, come back up into the 15 to get above the 2? Looking back on it now, that's the right shot. Do you want to drift back over for the 2 ball in the side or in the corner? Those definitely play, but it's a bit more cue ball travel, and you're risking ending up on the rail. You could even come all the way around and get above the 2 ball this way and play it over in this corner pocket. So definitely some options here. This is one of those where you pick your spot and you commit to it. You do not want to let up on this. Not after clearing the table. And I let up on it. So, I don't know. I made a good shot on the 4, but didn't fully commit to my spot. And playing for it on the side is silly. Looking back on it now, there's really no reason to do that. and I let up on my stroke. I got scared of the position. So if you can clutch this up, you get some kind of look at the 8-ball. I let up on that one too. I got scared. That's really all there is to it. I knew that things were kind of dwindling down and that I was clearing out the table, and I don't think I was specifically thinking about him as my opponent in that case, but I just knew, man, I got bad shape on this 2-ball. Things are starting to kind of fall apart, and that stuff started to worm its way into my game. Now, typically at this point in the game, when you're playing somebody who knows how to play 8-ball, they're going to put you in ball in hand hell. They're going to keep you locked up until they can solve their problems. So he plays a good little breakout shot on that problem. Also leaves me hooked behind the 10-ball. So I'm going to have a difficult cut to get any kind of hit on the 2. It's a tough kick. Some players might choose to sort of intentionally foul here, maybe push the 9 back towards the 14. Going for the kick is risky. You're very unlikely to make a good hit on the 2. Even if you do make a good hit on the 2, yeah, what do you get, right? I mean, maybe you come in 2 rails behind the 2-ball and hit the right-hand side of the 2-ball. I choose to try to tie things up, intentionally fouling, pushing the 10 into the 8 and the 2. This is a tough position, though. Without a blunder from him, this is a losing position. So he's got he calls no shot and waves his hand like that to indicate that he's not calling anything. And plays the 12 into the cluster to open those up, make every single shot over there much easier to play, and puts me behind the 11 with a reasonable 1-rail kick into the 2. I don't know if this was the intention or not, but he could have known that a 1-rail kick into the 2-ball would free up his 10 and the 8. So I come over here and look at the 1-rail kick. And again, sure, could you get the kick? Yeah. Is it going to help you out that much? Is it that much better than giving up ball in hand? I'm not convinced. I make a good kick, but no rail. Maybe the better play would have been to go top side of the 2-ball to send the cue ball down table. But now you've opened up all the clusters and given your opponent ball in hand. And we know this guy's going to be capable of running out the table. So he just needs to clean up that 10, 9, 14 situation a little bit. With ball in hand here, this would be a good time to do it. Yeah, he's sizing it up. He's just trying to decide how to use ball in hand most effectively. Plays into the 12. We look like float back over here. Okay, so he's going to use the 15. Or no, cut the 9-ball right now to clean that up. That's good too. Nice. Yep, cleans up the 10-ball. From here, yeah, it's an open table. So without a blunder, it's not looking good for us. Gets nicely down below the 10. No need to overcomplicate that. You don't want to overplay that ball. Nice simple kind of stun over for the 15. 15 goes in the same corner. Naturally can follow up for the 11 and the 13. Nice touch, nice speed. Get good on the 13 so that it gives you a good angle to get up above the 8. Yep, plenty of options here. You can pull back to here and play the 8 in the top corner. You can punch into it here and get above the 8 for the 8 down in that corner. Decides to just come up one rail. Admittedly comes up a bit short here. Could have gotten a little nicer on the 8-ball. But we're still fine. We're not threatening the side pocket. The 2-ball's going to come into play. And as long as he makes a good cut on the 8, and he takes an extra couple heartbeats here to get good shape on the 8. And cuts it. It's a good match. So Yeah, like I said, shorter form here. This tournament is just a race to 3. It's double elimination, so you're going to see more of this one this week. I'm going to get a couple more of these up, but I hope you guys enjoy this format. I'm still working on my camera work. It is going to get better, I promise. Still getting used to all that. But yeah, let's see this week how many more videos come up, how deep I can get into this tournament. It was a 30-some player tournament. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. So hope you guys enjoy this type of content. Let me know in the comments any thoughts on the match, this format, or anything else. Love having you guys here. And again, if you're not already, please do hit subscribe and like. It helps out the channel a lot. Hope to see you again soon.